God's will is?
So that's an excellent question because so many people have continue to wrestle with that for years. And here's the thing about it. 3 John verse 2 says, Beloved, above all things, this is what I desire for you, that you prosper, be in health, even as your soul prospers. So now, even as you're growing spiritually, that means carnal nature is dying, spirit man is growing. It is my will that you have all things needed for stability, for survival, for, provision. It is my will for you to have these things. A lot of time people base the will of God at a particular place. And yes, that is sometimes that, but we be so caught up in wondering, am I in the will of God by being on this job? Am I in the will of God by purchasing this vehicle? Well, God gives us freedom of choice. God gives us and equips us with what's necessary. So if God blessed us to be able to afford the car, then he says, delight thyself also in me, and I will give you the desires of your heart. So you don't have to question whether or not you're in God's will, because he's giving you freedom of choice to make that decision. You've sought wise counsel. You've looked at it. It fits the budget. So now you have to know, if it's not your will for this particular, redirect my steps, God, because you've ordered my steps. So a lot of times people are caught up in the will of God versus not really understanding it is God's will for you to provide for your family. It is God's will for a man to take care of his home, for a husband to be a covering for his family, a covering for his wife. It is God's will for a wife to be the mother, the caretaker, the facilitator, the manager, the helpmeet to her husband. It is God's will for that. So you have to be able to know what is God's will. And then at the same time, in the process of me following after your will, walking in your will, then you're ordering my steps. You're directing me. And because you sit high and look low, I know that you see what's coming down the road. And my trust and faith is that by the power of the Holy Spirit, you're leading and guiding me in the ways that you know is best for me. So I think believers need to embrace, understand, am I in the will of God? Okay, and if you ask yourself that question, what's the actions? What am I doing daily? Am I communicating with God? Am I fellowshipping with him? Am I being a light shining in darkness? Am I encouraging my brother and sister? Am I fellowshipping with the believers? Am I strengthening those that are weak? Am I encouraging? Am I praying and interceding? All of this is the will of God. So I think if we embrace it just from that perspective, it'll allow us and help us to grow, because his will manifests for different things, different types of situations, different callings. And so now it's like this. If you're a single mom, then the will of God for your life at that moment is totally different from someone who's not even a mother. So to a woman or man who doesn't have any children, they're not married, the will of God is totally different in regards of they're not walking in being a husband or a wife. They're not walking in being a father or a mother. So it doesn't apply for those of us who are walking in that. So it's different ways to view it, to look at it. But do understand and know and encourage yourself to know it is God's will that we prosper. It is God's will that we be in health, even as we're growing spiritually.